Perfect. So, first of all, welcome again. So, today's session is gonna be about DFP video and DFP mobile ads. Sorry about my voice in the beginning, but I have a high fever and sore throat. So, in case you don't understand anything, or in case there's something that you don't, seem to follow, please let me know right away so that I can probably repeat that, correct that. Okay. Perfect. So to start with, we will see these video ads using DFP, the different features offered by DFP for serving video ads, and what are the different ways of DFP, and then of video ads served on DFP, and then we will be moving on to mobile ads. So how's DFP? Let's get started. Okay, so to start with DFP video, basically have types of DFP. For linear, and then as the companion. Okay, so linear ads are nothing but the ads that take the entire screen of video player. So if we go to video, you see an ad showing entire screen of which take the screen of your video player, and they can either be skippable and they can. So you will see a skip button after 5 seconds, and if they are not skippable, you just have to wait till your ad completes and then move on to the next content, right? So the next type is non-linear ads. So non-linear ads also displays on the video player, but they are basically a small image or a flash file which comes up at the bottom of the video player. So they do not take the entire screen of your video player. Sometimes they do, but they're basically like a image and flash file which take the bottom area of your video player when you serve the ad. You cannot see my screen? Oh my god, I'm sorry. I forgot to share my screen. Just let me quickly share it. Okay, can you see it now?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So the second type is again the non-linear ad. As I mentioned, they are basically like a small image or flash type of ads that take up small area of your video player. They usually have the close button. So in case you do not want to see the ad, you can always close the ad, and that's again a type of video ad served by DFP. And the third type is companion ad. So companion ads are basically the display ads. So the linear ad, the first one, serves on your video player, right? The companion ad is basically a display ad which serves on the right side of your video player. So once you go to youtube.com, you see a video serving. If you notice a video serving on your video player side, you will see ad from the same advertiser or the same kind of ad in a display format serving on the right top corner. So that's basically a companion ad. Companion ad again never serves without a master. Master is the video ad. So we basically have these three video ads categorized. We broadly categorize for serving via DFP. Okay, so now that we know what are the different types of video ads, are the delivery options that DFP gives us, right? Okay, so you see I have a video line item in DFP, and if you notice the size of this line item is 640 cross 480 V. You always have to mention V at the end of the size for any of your video line items. right? And the remaining setting is other display line item that you have. So the only way to differentiate a general line item and a video line item is by looking at the size. So if it has a V, it means it is a video line item, and if it doesn't have a V, like it's just a normal 640 plus 480, then it's a general display line item, right? So now that I have a line item, I can upload creative, right? I will add a creative set. So uh, video always comes in master and companion option. So you can all choose to give a companion size if you want, and you can completely skip the companion sizes because it's optional. But master is of course mandatory. So let's say I add a new creative set, right? Okay, so now you see we have three options here. The first one is the video, which says a standard video ad that appear as a mid-roll, pre-roll, post-roll. Okay, so video is, we have basically three types of video: DFP hosted, externally hosted, and YouTube hosted. Right. So if I select video, uh, I can basically, so you see the option here I have is DFP hosted. So I can just select a file from my PC and then directly upload this in DSP, right? So if I have a video ad already available with me in my PC, I can upload that in DFP, and that ad would be served directly on your page. So that's kind of a DFP hosted, which means you are actually hosting the video file in DFP, right? So you will actually upload the file here and save it. So this file is hosted by DFP. Okay, so the next drop down is externally hosted. So let's say you have a video file, but you know the video file, you have a video ad available, but you do not have the file available with you. The file is externally hosted into third-party server or somewhere else. So in that case, you can actually insert the URL where your third-party ad is stored. So let's say my ad is stored at like this. I'm just taking a random example. So if my ad is stored at this URL, I will just add this URL and I'll click on add assets. So DF will automatically read through the URL and upload the video file here, right? So this is the externally hosted creative type. And the third one is YouTube hosted, right? So in this case, if you have your own YouTube channel and you want to upload that YouTube video on your DFP, all you have to do is enter the URL. So anything that starts after V in the YouTube URL, you just have to enter the ID here, and that's, you just save it. That's how you upload a YouTube hosted. So DFP hosted, externally hosted, and YouTube hosted. These are the video options. Okay, the important thing with these type of ads is that you get an option to either make the video ad skippable or not skippable, right? So if you see skippable video enabled, which means if I select enabled, which means my video ad is eligible to show the skip button after 5 seconds or after the second that I mention in my settings of TFP network. And if I select this as disabled, which means there will not be any skip option shown on my video, and the user has to see my entire ad to actually go to the content, right? I know it's kind of annoying to not have a skip option because all of us tend to always skip the video ads, right? I mean, at least I do it. Okay, so that was about the video option that we have. So for hosted, we have this, and the next up we have is uh, overlay, right? So as I mentioned, overlay is the third type of, the second type of video ad, which is non-linear ad, which actually takes a small screen of your video player, like a image or a flash file. So you can just directly upload here from your system, and then you just have to click on save. So this video file will be served on your YouTube player with usually a close button on it, right? Okay. And so that was about overlay. And the third one is redirect. So redirect is the most commonly used video creative type in DFP. Most of the publishers use fast redirect. So vast redirect lets you enter the URL of a vast tag. So the third party usually, or the advertiser usually, gives you a vast tag. So you just have to enter this vast tag here and just click on save. So whenever there's a line item is selected, DFP makes a call to third party whose vast tag is trafficked in this line item, and then third party returns the ad. For this kind of ad, you do not see the skip option, right? The reason being because it's basically making a call to third party, so we don't know if third party is going to return a skip option or no, right? So we cannot have the skip option available in the UI. In case the third party returns a skippable ad, we will show the skip option on the video player. And if third party is not returning a skippable ad, we will not show a skip option on the player. So that completely depends on the third party. So let's say I have a stack. Okay, so this is my URL, and I just enter the URL here, and I save it. Duration 30. So this is a 30-second ad. Okay, what is missing? Okay, so the ad is saved, right? Well, yeah. So if we so if you notice at the bottom of this creative settings page, we have different assets, right? Scaling, duration, API framework type, dimension, bitrate, and delivery. What DFP does is, so since I uploaded this tag and saved it, DFP automatically reads this tag and lists down what are the different types of asset the tag has, and automatically lists them down here, right? So if you notice, the first type of asset that this tag has is an MP4, right? The dimension is 1280 cross 720, and this is the bitrate, right? It's of duration 10. And the second one is 3GPP. Again, the next one is 3GPP. If the difference here is, if you notice, they have different bitrate, they have different dimension. So whatever asset type that third party has, DFP automatically reads it and displays it here so that you know which type of assets that you have available. So let's say I am accessing a page on a 4G network. Okay, I do not have a Wi-Fi and I'm accessing the page on a 4G network. So of course my internet speed would be slow, right? So in this case, what DFP does is, depending on what is the speed of the user who's accessing the page and what is the internet speed, what is the device type, DFP selects the best type of asset here, right? So in case I'm not using a very high-end mobile, or I'm not using a very high-end internet connection, then DFP will select a type of asset which has a lower bitrate or which has a lower dimension so that it can fit into my mobile. So let's say DFP can select this one, WebM format, which is of 132 KB, right? Bytes per second, right? So these are basically the same ads, but they're just transcoded into different formats. So every time you upload a tag, DFP transcodes it into different formats and selects the best type of ad to return based on the user's uh, internet speed and the device that you're using, right? So this is basically a very, very good added example of how DFP returns the right line item so that your video doesn't look blurred on the user screen if they are not using a very good internet speed, right? Okay. So this was the third type of creative type that we had. Okay. So moving on, video ad tag. Okay. Unlike the display ad tag, which usually contains the head part and the body part, DFP video ad is very simple. So they are usually just one line of code, right? They just contain the Pabat's request, and they just have the ad unit details, the sizes, and the custom setup. That's it. So I go here, I click on generate tags, I continue this, and here you go. This is my video tag, right? There's no header part, there's no body part. You just have to take this tag and implement it on your video player, right? So once you have this tag implemented on your video player, the player will automatically make a request. So just to tell you how this looks like, so this is http papas.g.doubleclick.net. That's basically the domain name for DoubleClick for publisher. And then you have size. Size is 640 cross 480. Okay, remember, so in case of trafficking a line item in DFP, we usually mention size as 6 cross 480V UI. But when you're generating a tag, you do not have to mention V at the end of the tag, right? Because DFP already knows it is a video ad tag, so you do not have to mention a V size here after the size. So IU, again, this is your network ID and this is your ad unit. And these are companion sizes, right? CIU sizes is basically the companion sizes. So if there are any companion ads of 300 cross 250, they will be served, okay? And ENV equals to VP. So this means environment is video player, output equals to VAST. So basically we are using VAST 3 right now for DFP, and we are soon going to migrate to VAST 4.0. So these are nothing but the versions or the standards set by IAB for using a template for all video ads across all the advertising industry. Okay, unmute position start equals to 1. Okay, this is a very important parameter for delayed impression counting, right? So video ads basically have delayed impression counting. With delayed impression counting, I mean that whenever the video ad actually serves on the page and fires an impression strings back to DFP, only then DFP will record an impression for video. Otherwise, it will not record an impression. So unviewed position start equals to 1, which means this tag is this tag has delayed impression counting. It is default for all the video tags. It will not count an impression unless the player pings a impression pixel back to DSP, right? And next one is cust params. This is nothing but if you have any key values, you can pass it here, right? And then is the correlator. Correlator is just for breaking the cache to ensure that same ad doesn't get served and DFP knows it's coming from the new request, right? So this is all about video ad tag. So you can just test it directly if you have the tag. You can test it directly in any of the video players and they would work. So it is not dependent on any specific video player. Any externally available video player in Google or outside Google, you can test the video tags, right? Okay. Next is VAST. So since I told that we are using VAST 3.0 currently, VAST is basically a XML schema that is set by IAB and that returns information about what is the video, what are the events, and what are the assets, right? So it also makes a call to third party to fetch the actual creative set, and it also gives the error code. So I will show you how a sample ad VAST response looks like. Okay, these are my sample VAST tags that I have, right? So I will just open one of the tag here. Okay, you see this is my sample tag. It is just a basic tag that we saw right now, and this is the response that I got. So this is VAST version 3.0. So for now we are using 3.0 version. Ad ID is nothing but the line item ID in DSP, and then you will have different information about what exactly is the ad type. So the most important one that you would look out for is, okay, the first one that we have is error event, and then we have this URL, which means if this ad is not able to play for some kind of reason, then this error event will be fired to DFP and DFP will record an error, right? So if I go towards the ad, it says label equals to video play failed error code, right? So VAST generally returns different kind of error codes. So let's say I have an error code of 402. 402 is basically, I think, is a timeout error, which means the third party took a lot of time to actually return the asset, which resulted in timeout. So likewise, we have a lot of different VAST error codes that are available in DFP. For example, we have 901, which is the VPAID error. And so whatever is the kind of code, depending on the type of code, this type of error, this code is updated automatically by the video player, right? And if the ad actually serves, then this is the impression event that should be fired to DFP to actually count an impression, right? First, we have an error, and then we have an impression. Okay, this is the creative ID. Okay, and if you see, linear skip offset equals to 5. So this ad has a skip option, which is to be shown at the 5th second, right? So this will show actually a skip option at after 5 seconds. Okay, and these are different tracking events. So whenever a video ad serves, we basically have different events firing for start, for first quartile, for midpoint, for third quartile, for complete, for mute. Okay, if you want, we can just test it out. Let me just quickly show. Okay, right. So this is the DFP tag that I have. I click on test ad, right? Okay. My ad is serving. I have a skip option, and I have events firing start, first quartile, midpoint. Okay, I click on skip ad. Right. So start was impression was fired first, and then start, and then first quartile, then midpoint, and but after midpoint, I actually clicked on the skip, and then we had the all ads completed because the ad was skipped, right? So the same way DFP actually, all these events are actually fired back to DFP, and you can actually report on these events in DFP. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can also see if the ad has any companion. So this ad has two companion ads. One is 720 plus 90, and the second one is 300 plus 250, right? So we see the companion ads here. Any questions so far? Cool. Okay. Okay, so that was about VAST tag, and you saw how the VAST response looks like, right? So these events are fired whenever that uh, activity is happening, and you see media files. So these are basically the different types of media assets that are present in this VAST tag. So the first one is MP4, and then we have 3GPP, then we have MP4 again. Depending on the bit rate and the sizes, we have different media file available in the response. And DFP selects the best media file depending on your device. And then we have companion ads here. Because that ad showed companion ad, it also has information about companion ads. So this is how the VAST response looks like. So in case I do not have any ad to return, and if there is no ad from no line item available from DFP, or there's no ad return from third party, then instead of this response, I will see an empty response. So let me just refresh this. Okay, let me refresh this again. You see, yeah, I got an empty response, which means third party doesn't have any ad to return here, or DFP doesn't have any eligible line item. So in case there is no ad returned by DFP or third party, you will see a blank XML. So in this case, you saw a blank XML because I did not enter a correlator value, and so it just took a random correlator value every time and it was same. So if I keep changing my correlator every time, I will see an ad, right? But in case third party is not able to return any ad, you will see a blank response like this. Okay, so okay, let me just show you how the blank response error looks like. So this is the same tag. Click on tag. Okay, the ad is serving. We clear the logs. Test again. Again serving. One. My God, it's smart. Okay, so in case you do not have any ad to return, so instead of impression start and all these events, you will basically see an error like no ad return from third party or no available ads available from third party. Okay, yeah, this tag won't have any ad. So let's clear the log. Okay, understand? You see? There you go. I have the error. It says unable to request the ads from server due to the network error. Just ignore this, but because I have given a test network detail, but in case there is an ad available, you will see a proper ad, proper error type like no ad returned by third party or something sort of that, right? Okay, so that was about how our vast response looks like, and then SDK. So to serve the video ads in DFP, we generally recommend our publishers to use their video player and integrate the video players with IMA SDK, right? So Google basically offers 4 types of IMA SDK for serving video ads. The first one and the commonly used is HTML5 SDK. So this page, if you notice, this test page that you notice is basically using an HTML5 SDK, right? So SDK again offers a lot of benefits to serving video ads because whenever you make a request from the player, SDK handles everything right from pinging the events to the DFP or recording an error or displaying the ads correctly. Because I mentioned about selecting the best type of video ads format from the available format. So that's basically the SDK's job, right? SDK selects the right kind of media asset to return to the user based on their device capability. So, and the next one is the Flash SDK, which is deprecated now because Google has deprecated Flash for Chrome. So they are not used anymore. Then we have iOS SDK in case you are serving your video ads on iOS applications, and then in case you're serving your ads on Android applications, then you have Android SDK, which you can implement on your video player. Basically, the third-party video players nowadays are using Google's SDK by default. There's there's not much to worry about. But in case your player doesn't have an SDK and you do not see the ad serving correctly or you do not see the impression firing correctly, then you have to work with your player partners to get that sorted. But if you have SDK and if you still notice any issues, then it's Google's responsibility to actually check the issue and see what's actually causing the problem, right? So SDK, these are the commonly used SDKs for serving video ads. And again, for testing ad delivery, anytime if you want to test any of the video tags, you guys can always come to developers.google.com and search for Vast Inspector. It's Video Suite Inspector, right? You just have to enter your tag here and just click on test ad. In case you do not have a tag, right? In case you just have an XML, you can always select the XML option and enter your entire XML response. Okay. For example, this tag. Right? So I can just copy the entire XML response and I can paste it here as well, and I can click on test ad. It will show the ad. So this is available externally for everybody, and Google IMA SDK integrated already. So it's the best test player available for testing any of your video tags or testing any of your video ads. You just have to enter the tag and you can just see the video ad, right? Okay, so sample tags, again, we have a lot of sample tags available in DFP. right? So you can check different sample tags depending on if you want to test a skippable ad or a linear. Okay, let me show you how the non-linear ad looks like. Oh, okay, sorry, this one. Yeah. So linear ad is basically a small ad that takes. Okay, what? They don't have an ad right now, but they usually take the bottom area like here, the small area here at the bottom of the video player, right? Okay. Okay, testing video ad. Now that we know how DFP ads are served or returned, we will see how we can report on DFP. The events that you saw before, like impression or start, midpoint, they are also available in DFP for reporting purposes. You just have to go to the reporting tab, select any ad unit or any line item, and if you scroll towards the bottom of the reporting tab, you will see uh, video viewership, right? Here you have start, first quartile, midpoint, third quartile, complete, and then you have something called skip button shown. So if how many times was the skip button shown and how many times did the user actually skipped the video, right? And you have interaction as well, like how many times the user paused the video, resumed it, rewind it, mute it. Okay, and also you have different error types. I was mentioning about the different error types that DFP gives, right? So these are basically the different type of error types. So uh, each error type has different meaning. So let's say 302. 302 means wrapper limit reached, which means there is no response received by third party after multiple redirects. And again, 402. 402 is timeout, as I was mentioning, which means third party was not able to return the media file or the actual media asset. So you can also see what are the different errors your line item is recording, and based on the error types, you can actually work on them and get that corrected, right? So that's about video errors, video viewership, and video interaction. So you can report on these. Okay. Next up we have is a very cool, interesting feature which is offered by DFP Video, which is called fallback. So usually we make a request to DFP and DFP returns one line item. But in fallback, what DFP does is instead of returning one line item, it returns multiple line items in just one response. So in case the first line item is not able to serve, the SDK goes back to the second line item. But if the second is able to serve, it will serve. But if second is unable to serve and throws an error, then the SDK moves to the third line item. So the added advantage is that you do not have to make a request again and again to DFP. You just make one request and DFP returns like multiple line items. So it reduces page latency because it's just making one request. And it also gives you chances to monetize your inventory because you do not see unfilled. Because if DFP is returning like let's say 5 line items, then of course at least 1 out of 5 will serve, right? So the chances of seeing blank is very low. Okay, so fallback basically returns multiple line item in one vast response, right? So this is the response that I have. So you see add ID here. So this is one line item, right? So after this one line item, you will have one more line item in the same response. So it basically returns different line items in just one response, right? So the reason, the advantage, as I mentioned, would be third-party ad server will have low fill rate because they would be, and you can have multiple advertiser competing, right? So when an ad server can't return an ad, SDK returns checks for the other ad from different advertisers or the same advertiser, whatever you want. So the requirement for fallback is that it only applies to vast redirect types, right? So only the creatives that are trafficked in DFP as vast redirect times, only they can participate in fallback, and you should have IMA SDK to be able to serve or to be able to have the fallback feature, because it's the SDK's job to go back to the next line item if the first one is not able to serve, right? Your video player will not be able to detect how if the first one was able to serve and how to go to the second line item. So the requirement would be to use Google's IMA SDK, and it only applies to vast redirect creatives, and the publisher needs to add CPM value and have different levels of priority. So you can just skip this part for now, right? Okay. So you see, this is how the fallback response looks like. So add ID, here we have first line item ID, and these are the events of the first line item. And then I have an add ID again, and this is the events of the second add ID, and then I have an add ID again. So in this response, TFP returned 3 line items, right? So that's how an fallback XML will look like. And for okay, so DFP can so you cannot have a lot of line items returned in your fallback response because the limit is 5. You just have to mention the limit in the admin tab of your DFP network. So you just have to go to okay. Okay. Here in the video tab on the admin, you see enable fallback. Fallback is enabled, right? So, and fallback limit. Okay, I think it's here. Okay, I don't know. I don't see it, but it's somewhere here. So maximum. So by default, you can just have 5 maximum of 5 fallback ads. So in case you enter 5 here, the DFP will return 5 plus 1. So if you mention your fallback limit as 5, DFP will then return 6 ad, right? So in case you mention your fallback limit as 3, DFP will return 3 plus 1, which means DFP can return 4 responses in one fallback request. Yeah. Okay. Fallback reporting. So the reporting for video ads is same as the display ads as we saw, but fallback reporting is a little bit trickier because you're just making one request to DFP and DFP is returning so many line items, right? So in this case, what really happens is, let's say I have 3 line items, AAA, BBB, and CCC. Okay, so the first line item, whenever the ad request is sent to DFP from the video player, and DFP returns XML response or a fallback response, we record a total code served for the first line item. Total code served is nothing but the number of times the ad was returned by DFP, right? So DFP will record a total code served. Now AAA will try to serve an ad here. Now in case it tries to serve an ad, it will return it will count an impression. But for some reason, if it is not able to serve an ad, then it will record an error, and our SDK will move to the next line item, which is triple B, right? So if triple B serves here, it will record an impression, but if it is also not able to serve, then it will record an error, and then the SDK will move to the third line item. So if third line item is again able to serve an impression, it will record an impression, but if it's not able to serve an ad, then an error will be recorded. So in this case, if you notice, the total code served is 1, impression is 0, and error is 3, right? So it might confuse the publishers, like, okay, DFP, if, let's say total code served is number of times DFP returned the ad, right? So they will be saying like, okay, DFP returned the ad like 10 times, and I have for just like 2 times for this line item, basically because this line item was not able to serve, or this line item was uh, recording an error. And for the second line item, let's say triple B served, let's say 10 times. Okay, so triple B would have 10 impression but 0 total code served. right? So which means it's like you serve 10 times, but ideally total code served, it's like number of times DFP returned the ad. So that would be 0. So always remember, in case your publisher is talking about difference between total code served and impression, we always have to check if those numbers include video inventory or no, or if they have fallback enabled or no. Because for fallback, we just count total code served for the first line item in the chain, but impression is counted by any of the line items in the chain, whichever is eligible to serve an ad. Right? Okay, any questions on DFP video so far? Cool. Okay, so that was about DFP video. Now we will move to serving ads on uh, mobile ads, right? So basically, uh, the users are usually going to focusing on serving native ads or more ads on their mobile app inventories, because it usually gives them uh, more more guaranteed uh, experience about the users that's gonna be seeing their ads. So let's say I have an app for FIFA, and I will be opening the app like every once and every once or now. So because the websites user do not visit the websites so frequently, so and you have a wide variety of traffic coming in, so this basically gives them more loyalty subscriber to serve their in-app ads. And then the second important point would be the page views, right? So four times page view, four times more page view than desktop for mobile web. And of course, uh, mobile app will also have four times more page view than desktop ads for same users, right? Because if I have the app, I will be going back to the app every time. So your users are fixed. You do not have like a unique users coming up, right? And user engagement, right? So you go to a mobile web or a desktop web, you read the article, you just leave, right? But in case of app, you basically spend more time in while accessing your app than any of the mobile web page, right? So that is few of the reasons that publishers nowadays are moving to serving their ads on mobile applications. And the other would be like uh, subscription. Like most likely the people who are visiting your page on mobile web, they would not be subscribing, but if you have an app subscription, you are most likely not to drop that. And you will have more expensive uh, you know experience or user experience given to your users, because they will be seeing your app, and your ad will be incompatible to the UI that your app has. Sorry, your ad would be compatible to the UI that your app has. So that's basically an added advantage. Okay, so for serving um, ads in mobile applications via DSP, you basically need to have a GMA SDK, right? So for video, we have IMA SDK, which is interactive media. And then for mobile, we have Google Media SDK, right? So Google Media Ads SDK for mobile application, you will have an iOS SDK and an Android SDK, right? So Google app users. So the SDK's job is to make the request to DFP. SDK's job is to render the ad on the mobile app, and SDK's job is also to report the correct metrics for those ads, right? So it's same like what IMA SDK does. GMA SDK does the same thing, but the only difference is GMA SDK for display kind of ads in mobile application, and IMA SDK is for video ads, right? So depending on the application platform or the OS type, you will be installing the GMA SDK for your application or integrating your application with Google's GMA SDK. And then in case you do not want to use Google's GMA SDK, you can do is use a simplified URL tag. So simplified URL tags are like a non-JS tag. So they basically have the capability to render in non-JS, uh, environment, and then you will be able to serve your ads using that. But the disadvantage of uh, simple URL tag is that the backfill is not supported. So you will not be able to serve your ad exchange or AdSense ads using simple URL. But in case you're using GMA SDK, you will be able to serve ads coming from ad exchange and right. Okay, so for a video application, all so it's usually pretty simple to generate the tag for video uh, for mobile application. Okay, I have this ad unit. I click on generate tag, and instead of GPT, I select mobile applications, right? And I click on continue. Okay, you see, so this tag has nothing but your network name, your ad unit ID, and the size of your ad. So all you have to do is just take this ad unit ID and the size and give it to your app developers, and then they will be integrating this along with the code of their application, and this will make a request to the GMA SDK, right? So you do not have a line of code like pubads.g.doubleclick. You just have to enter the ad unit ID, right? Okay. One more thing, in case you have your own app or you own an app for yourself, so you can add those app in DFP as well, and you can directly use them for targeting. Let's say I have an app, you just have to mention the app name, whatever comes up, and then there you go. So you can just add this app, you can just add this app, and then you can just target this in the line item, right? So if you notice, we had an option to target line item. Right. So this is the line item creation page, right? If you come to the bottom, you see we have something called mobile application here on the left side. So whatever mobile application that you have, you can directly target your mobile applications here. So DFP will serve the ads here. So DFP will only serve this line item on these mobile applications, right? So in case the request is coming from other application and this line item is eligible, it will not serve because it is targeted only to these two applications, right? And so that's about in adding mobile application here to your DFP line item targeting. And for devices, in case you want them to serve only to uh, mobile apps, right? So you go to devices, device capability, and select mobile app, right? And let's say I just remove this. So this line item will only be serving on mobile app. And since I did not give any application name, so it can serve on any of my mobile application, where the request is coming from. And the remaining in settings would be same, like add unit, country, devices, connection, everything is same. So for and even the size for video would size for mobile would be same, but usually for mobile devices we use sizes like 320 yeah, so 320 cross 50. This is a mobile leaderboard, so this is a very commonly used size that we have for serving as mobile applications, but you can choose to have any size that you want. Of course, there's no uh, limit for that. And the the trafficking part and the ad serving part would be same as any other display line item, right? Okay, okay. So these are some of the basic GMA SDK uh, functions that we have. So the first one is these are basically for Android. So DFP ad view, this basically creates a container to display your ads. So the same way you have app event listener, you have Google uh, Google Ads, Google.ads.ad list that basically listens for broadcasts about standard events and interstitial ad and activity. So these are basically the SDK uh, events or the functions that you can use depending on what type of uh, event that you want or functions that you want to implement. And the same way we have for iOS, right? I am not going much deeper into that because you guys are already pro at it, so you would be knowing this more than me. Okay, so okay, in case okay, so we saw that DFP line item ad targeting is pretty simple, right? You just click on tag and it basically gives you the ad unit ID and the size. But in case you want to implement a key value to your ad tag or in mobile application, then all you have to do is enter add custom targeting and the key name and the value name, right? So in case of Android, you can in case of Java applications, you can use add custom targeting, and then in case of applications on Objective C, you can add request dot custom targeting. So we also have examples available externally on GitHub about how do we add custom targeting on key value targeting in app for DFP, right? Okay. Now, uh, so now that we have implemented, let's say we have implemented our DFP tags in mobile applications, how do you record a mobile session or how do you see an ad request going to DFP, right? So the ad request to DFP would be under babats.g.doubleclick domain, right? And this is how the ad request would basically look like. So in case you want to find what is the SDK version, you will look for a parameter called JS. It will give you the SDK version. So in this case, we have AFMA SGK A V and some value. So this is basically for Android SDK. So which tells you that okay, this session or this request is coming from an Android application and the SDK is the Android SDK and this is the version. So you can always go to developers.google.com to see what is the latest GMA SDK version which is available, right? So this is gonna be the JS parameter gonna be the format, and the remaining one, the remaining request parameters would be same. For example, your sizes, the country that your and Android app, what is the submodel, and what is the user agent. Everything's gonna be the same. And how does it look like for iOS? Again, for iOS also, we find the SDK version under the JS parameter, which has AFMA hyphen SDK hyphen I hyphen the version name. So I is for iOS and A is for Android, right? So you can always look for the latest version of SDKs in the Google developers.google.com. Okay. So that was about identifying the SDK version type. Now, there are, we actually want to serve your ads based on frequency cap or based on sequential rotation. But in case of apps, we do not have a way to actually, store the cookie or able to report, get a log of the cookie, right? In that case, we basically have identifiers, which are nothing but the application, the ad ID or IDFA for iOS, and that's the and using those ID, we basically use for creating audience segment or using frequency cap because we cannot store the cookie for requests coming from mobile application, right? So in case the request is coming from Android device, any of the Android application, the ad ID is sent to DFP in the ad request. It's basically a 36 character number which is sent in an encrypted format, right? So your data is not actually linked, but the ad ID or the IDFA information is sent to DFP in the encrypted format via the SDK. So this is basically once you have your once DFP has your ad ID or IDFA, DFP then be able to record the cookie. DFP would then be able to know that, okay, I have already gotten a request from this application or this device already, and only then it will be able to serve frequency based ads for you. For example, my ad is supposed to serve 2 times per day. So only then those kind of ads would be able to serve to me in case my identifier or the device ID is sent to DFP, right? Okay, so to basically send the device ID, which is ad ID and IDFA, we use a macro in DFP, which is identifier plane. So this basically allows in-app publishers to send a mobile advertising ID, right? So the advertiser identifier plane is to send the device identifier, and identifier type is to send what is the device type, where what is the device type from which the user is sending the request from the application. And the identifier is basically limit ad tracking setting, right? So some of the users do not want actually prefer to opt out of targeting based data, right? So they do not want their information to be sent to advertiser or publisher, right? So in case the user or you have said uh, opt out uh, opt out of targeting based user behavior in your phone, then we would not be able to serve or get the macros for your ad, right? So the IDFA and ad ID are basically used. They are basically identifiers that are resettable, so you can always reset your advertising ID from your phone, and you can always decide. Users can always have the option to opt out of interest-based ad. So users have the option to opt out of interest-based ads using their phone, and identifiers can be sent to third party using macros. So the macro that I was talking about, the first one, using this macro you would be able to serve the your device ID, right? And the macro will require HTTPS encryption. As I mentioned, 36-digit number is basically passed to DFP in an encrypted format so that none of the information gets leaked. Yeah. Any questions so far? Nope. Cool. Okay, so that was about DFP mobile ads and video ads. So with this, we are done with both the add-ons that we have for DFP, which is video and mobile, right? Okay, so in case you guys don't have any questions, I will just move ahead with our quiz. Is that okay? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, let me start this. So like always, we have two teams. Team 1 is the PubGuru team, and team 2 is the head a bidding team, right? Okay, am I not connected or is nobody talking? Okay, people are there in this call. Okay, cool. Guys, can I start this?
Yep, go ahead. Let's see if we can get some redemption from the header bidding team.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so for today we just have two categories, video ads and mobile ads. And again, we have three questions each from categories, right? Okay, let's get started. The first question, 10 marks from video ads. What are the types of video ads?
Linear, non-linear, and companion.
Oh, that's cool. Team are you from?
Team 2.
Team 2. Wow, good start, Team 2. Okay, that's right. So we have linear, non-linear, and parallel. Perfect. Now comes the second question for 20 marks. Can I have 7 line items in the fallback? Fallback, we return multiple line items in one response. Can I have 7 line items in the response? Anyone? Anybody who wants to get?
Come on, guys. It's a yes or no.
Sorry?
I was encouraging the guys to speak because it's a yes or no answer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's someone gonna lose 20 even if you're wrong.
I would go for yes.
Okay. So then we can have 7 line items in the fallback. Okay. No. As I mentioned, the limit was 5, right? So you can have 5 plans, but the maximum limit is 5. That's okay. You at least gave a shot. I'm happy about it. Okay. So the last question of video is 30 marks. When you see an XML response, this should be an easy one. One. Team 2.
I definitely remember it's related to WAFT, but not sure that I can explain it.
No, but it's okay. Give it a shot. We have where you see an empty response.
Oh.
Nobody's giving a shot? No, that's not how we're gonna play. Come on, anyone. You guys have to give it a shot. When do you see an empty response? Pretty simple, right?
When video not return or something like that?
Perfect. When an item return for the video attack. Great. Team are you from?
Team 2.
Team 2. Good, good. What happened to Team 1 today? You guys were like on fire the last time we had this, right? Okay. Next up, we have mobile ads. The first question for 10 marks. If a publisher places advertiser identifier within a creative that serves on mobile, web, or SDK-less environment, will it expand? You remember macro-based gives you the ID and DFA information. So if you serve it on mobile web, will it work? Nobody wants to give it a shot? Okay, to make it a little easier for you, to give you a hint, the ID or IFA is passes, right? Now, it is passed for users who are using mobile applications. Now, will it expand if the ad is serving on mobile web? Come on, guys, you have to speak up.
Go on, Vital, have another shot.
Yeah, please. It's just a yes or no.
See, if you don't know the answer, the way to learn the answer is to answer wrong.
I was okay, yeah.
Okay, so okay, let's basically it won't be expanded because it's not for IDFA and ad ID, right? For your ad serving on mobile application. But in case you're using a mobile web, you do not use this information or the ID or guidance is not passed. So the macro won't be expanded. Cool. Okay, for 20 marks. How do you differentiate an ad request made from iOS app or versus an Android app?
By the ID, right? They have different IDs.
Right. Right. And like exactly what ID?
Request ID.
Sorry, what?
Request ID. As far as I remember, it's something
Okay, anything else?
a version, so we can.
Yeah, right.
IDFA.
Yeah, and maybe the SDK. So it's basically the user agent in the ad request, and then the SDK version. Right? We spoke about the SDK version under the JS parameter. Right? Okay. Now the last question for 30 marks. Give a great. How do you target a specific ad to all ad units in a specific app and only for requests coming from US? Okay, simplify this. How do you traffic your line item only to US and on specific application? Line item targeting. What targeting would you choose? Okay, let me just quickly. Okay, what targeting would you choose here if my line item is supposed to serve on if my line item is to be served to US and on specific application? Now tell me, what should I select from here?
Geography.
Geography and
US from here.
okay, perfect. Okay, and application. And if I have to serve it on specific application, then don't you see anything on the left side, bottom?
Oh yeah, the mobile application.
Right. So you will select any of application from here.
Yeah.
Okay, it was simple, guys, right? So in case you want to serve your ads coming from specific app and only to request from US, you will select geography as US and you will give application. You will select mobile application and give your application name. Okay, what's the score like? Who is leading? Team 1 or 2?
I suppose that Team 2 takes a revanche today.
Okay, you have a chance to come back right now. To make this a little interesting, let's do one thing, okay? Let's say Team 1 is bidding for 100, Team 2 is bidding for 150, okay? So if Team 1 gives the right answer, Team 1 gets 100 and Team 2 gets minus 100. And if Team 2 gives the right answer, they get what they bid for, but Team 1 gets minus 150. Is that okay? So if you are giving the right answer, your team is getting the point and the opponent team is losing those points.
So winner takes all, guys. That's what it comes down to.
Okay, so 100 from Team 1 and 100 from Team 2. So in case any of you give the right answer, that team gets 100 and the opponent gets minus 100. Yeah?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question coming for video ads. How can I check for video errors in DFP? Or where can I check for video errors in DFP UI? Team 2, keep the fire on. Something the reporting.
The query tool?
Yeah, right. And you're close. I can give you 50 for that, but then still. Query tool, where would you check for video errors?
I can remember there was like a list of like types of videos. So I cannot
Yeah,
remember.
right. So they're basically vast errors, right? Okay. So we can pull a report on vast errors in DFP. Okay, I give you a point for that. So you're from Team 1,
Team
is
two.
it? Team 2. Team 2 gets 100, Team 1 gets minus 100. Cool. Okay. Okay. Next up, we have second question on reporting, right? Right. Do we report on companion ads? Team 1, you are minus 100. Good chance for you to come back. Do we report on companion ads?
I will take a shot. I guess no. But I'm not sure.
Think once again. You know, companion is one of the video ad types, right?
So if you said think again, come on, Team A, that's or Team 1, that must give you a clue.
Yeah, it's a binary choice. That means it should be yes.
You see, Daddy had it, you. That's yes. We report on. That's one of the video ad types: linear, non-linear, and companion. Okay, what's the score like?
I think Team 2 has it.
200.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So team 2, 200, team 1, minus 100. Okay. This is the final question, right? And I would really want team 1 to give it a shot. And okay, the question is solely based on the interest of the person who is presenting today. Here's your question. Which is the best football club?
Chelsea.
No!
Manchester United.
I'm a Barcelona fan. It's Barcelona. Come on, how can Chelsea be better than Barcelona?
I guess Chelsea's facing Barcelona next week, right?
I think so, yes.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
we'll find out then.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Perfect. So, which team was it? Chelsea. No, you lost the point. Sorry, boy.
Team 2.
Team 2. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the session today. And as always, if you have any questions,
Thank you, Priyanka.
reach out to me. Thank you so much, Kari, and I hope to see most of you guys soon. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.